Hey, what's up YouTube? Special video here today. In today's video, I'm gonna share with you about a boy who was lost in plain sight. And yes, I'm pretty sure if you read the title, then you get it. This video is all about me. This is my backstory. I'm gonna give you all about my upbringing, my childhood, to the traumas, the drama, the conflict, all the way to who I am today, why I do the things that I do today, and where I'm expecting to go in the near future. We're nearly at 500 subs on YouTube, so that is awesome. I got about 6 to 8K followers on Facebook, about 2,000 on Instagram, and 300 now on TikTok. Majority of my following on Facebook came from me doing music and dance and things like that, and then it trickled down to Instagram. So that's where the majority of that following has come from. Me rebranding myself to now doing self-mastery, focusing on mindset, resilience, self-confidence, emotional and mental health and things like that is fairly new, almost, kinda, not really. But that's where this new following is coming. So if you're joining the journey, I just thought this was the perfect time for me to give you my backstory. So what's up? My name is Delvon Bridges. The name Delvon means godly friend. I was born in Los Angeles, California, specifically Leimert Park, South Central, the Crenshaw district. And I was born December 31st, 1994. Yes, a New Year's Eve baby, to a teen mom. Early on, from my memory, I had the most phenomenal childhood. I had a lot of cousins, a lot of family. In my household, it was a very clean, organized, spiritual home, very loving mother, man. We were a family of four, so it was my father, it was my mother, my younger sister, and then it was me. Though we was from Los Angeles, we moved out to the Inland Empire into a city called Upland, California. Very, very clean, very, very nice suburban type city. It was wonderful. We got to, express ourselves, be ourselves. I was very into sports. I played baseball for about 3 or 4 years. I was a high achiever. I wanted to get into everything. I wanted to be the best at everything. I was also very into animals. I had a very, very close relationship to wounded animals, animals we found on the streets. I always try to bring them home and rehabilitate them and love them and care for them. Maybe because I had an innate feeling of what that felt like to be left out alone and not really cared for. And we're gonna speak a little bit about that more, but I had this phenomenal love and empathy for animals, as well as something that makes a lot more sense today, which is evolution. I was so into evolution. I was so into Pokemon. That was my favorite game. I'd be on that game for hours. I love me some Pokemon, but more importantly, I love the science of evolution. So things were somewhat great for that period of time of me being in elementary. When 5th grade hit, that's when things significantly changed. I started having the concept and understanding of financial hardship. We moved from the Inland Empire back to our hometown, LA. Ironically, we moved right across the street from my grandmother's house. My grandmother been there for years and years. My mother grew up there with her sisters, her brothers. There were like 7 sisters and two brothers. So we had a pretty big family. Like I said, it was a lot of cousins and things like that. And my grandma's house was right across the street. We visited that house almost every weekend. So that's what I mean, like, when I say that LA was always home, even though we were away for a little while and things like that. That was where we went for family gatherings, holidays, and just visitation, But that's when things kind of got bad and I just became more conscious of the real world and, more aspects of the world, right? It was a different type of culture and things like that. The relationship between my mother and my father significantly changed. And this is what ultimately things change as a whole, right? So we move into a whole different environment we have to adapt to. And then you notice the relationship between your parents changing significantly. And in 2005, 2006, 2007, we're somewhere around there. I want to say maybe 2006, my mother was diagnosed with lupus. As she was diagnosed with lupus, not too much later, her and my father broke up. There had been a bunch of trauma and fighting and police called and all type of stuff that, you know, kids probably shouldn't have seen at the time going on in the house. But it was none like this one specific time where my sister and I were in the living room. The living room and the kitchen were connected. My mom and my father were arguing in the kitchen about something, and they got into a physical altercation. As they were getting into this physical altercation, they're literally fighting, and I'm standing up watching them. I'm within 5 feet, 3 feet of the whole situation, and I'm watching it up close, and I'm looking at their eyes. I'm looking at my father's eyes, and I'm looking at the anger of my mother's eyes and her swinging. And I just remember him like throwing like a left hook, like a left hook and a right hook, and she falls to the floor. And like I said, I'm in the living room, but I'm right in the kitchen also, right? Because I'm like 3 feet out. And I remember glancing at a knife that was on the counter. My mom had like this, I don't know if it was steel mate or whatever, but that's kind of what I recollect. There was something that holds knives, right? And I just remember contemplating, like, am I gonna have to grab the knife? I was in fight or flight. I was in shock. Like, this stuff just happened right in front of us. And I just remember thinking, like, damn, do I grab the knife? Do I fight my own father? What do I do in this moment? It was a very uncomfortable, disappointing moment of time. And I was filled with anger and rage. And the decision I made to do was to just